Zerglings are still in reserve, and now they will be joining the fray. Now also, here come the workers in the front. All hands on deck to try to defend here. ByuN desperately trying to maneuver backwards, and Kite clutch supply depot pull there to prevent the Zerglings from running into the main base, but we still have this huge mess in the natural base to deal with, and we have so many SCVs falling there for ByuN. And ByuN now is going to load up the medevacs, opting to go for a drop and get some of his own aggression going, but he leaves right when these Zerglings of Dark are coming in here, catching ByuN sort of off guard, relying on the SCVs to try to tank in the front, and the Marines have been dropping here. Finally, more reinforcements do show up, but it is a bit of a dicey position here for for ByuN, as Dark shows no signs of backing off. Here comes wave 2 with the Zerglings, and now SCVs really being pulled off the line, and now SCVs are really starting to fall here. 8 make that 10, and the Marines as well in the back are not doing too hot either. At the same time, though, ByuN has dropped into the main base and is now wreaking havoc on the research buildings here of Dark. Here comes the Queen Armada, though, with the Zerglings as well. ByuN opting to stand his ground, but the Queen's targeting the medevacs. These Marines are going to be left without a flight back home. And now Dark is able to clear that up. ByuN is forced to lift off the third base command center and really has been able to lay a pounding on the economy there of ByuN, losing 18 workers. And Dark losing just 4 throughout this entire exchange. Dark is looking to be in a much stronger position here, and I think ByuN knows it. Trying to desperately send more units, utilizing that command center energy for the mules. But here comes wave 3 of the Zerglings. Dark just does not know when to quit. You have to appreciate that about him. And neither does ByuN when it comes to aggression, as again, loading up the medevacs, he knows fighting back, striking back hard is going to be his ticket to victory here. Trying to land a decisive blow is ByuN, as he is looking to drop on the 4th base here. Immediate pull away with the drones there is Dark. Really great position there for those Marines, getting wedged up and able to deny mining for a pretty significant amount of time there on that 4th base for Dark. May also even just lose the base too. No need for the transfuses, though. Dark feels confident he can take this fight, as these Marines actually get rid of all the Zerglings and now are going to be stutter stepping forward, picking up and getting out of dodge there, as he's not yet done with the aggression, sending another small handful of units up to the right side. ByuN is leading in army supply, actually. Dark has opted to go for these Hydralisks and now is pulling the drones as well. And now we're going to see how much damage these little mines do, targeting the drones in the front. 10 have been taken out here. Excellent positioning there by ByuN, as Dark is sending banelings through, and target fired by ByuN. He has been able to stabilize his economy now, looking at 70 workers. And it is Dark right now, actually, with the better economy. And here comes another drop in the main base. Gotta be annoying for Dark, who has to pull his drones away. Thankfully, the main base is close to mining out, but loses the Hydralisk then. Is Dark losing the Muscular Augments upgrade. Now has to restart the Hydralisk then if he wants to get his Hydras up to scratch. But ByuN's sitting on 2-2. Does he have 3-3 on the way? Yes, he does. So his army is going to very quickly be a dangerous force here on the map. I think Dark now has had enough of ByuN shenanigans, setting up a surround here with the Zerglings in the back. Widowmines have burrowed, though. Is it going to be enough to take out all of the Zerg units? Yes, it is. ByuN stutter stepping now forward, stimming in to win it, at least in this first game. But Dark has more where that came from. More Banelings and more Zerglings trying to get the wraparound, but ByuN is just too slippery, and ByuN, again, using those medevacs to great effect, able to pick up, get out of dodge. Dark has been able to hold on to these outlying 4th and 5th bases, though. Again, ByuN going to be diving in here. Dark went back home to regroup his army. Is looking to be in a dire position here. The army supply very much in favor of ByuN, as Widowmines going off, and huge Baneling connects too. Is it enough on this side? I think it should be at this point, as we just have a handful of Marines, but they're getting so much value here for ByuN, and that is gonna be it, as Dark knows it. He taps out, and ByuN will take game number 1. Has gone into some mech play this game, already transitioning into Cyclone production. 3 factories as well. Pretty decent chunk of production. Now ByuN does get eyes on this little roach move out here. The question is just how committed is Dark, and I think ByuN now is going to dive in to try to get a look and answer that question exactly. But those Hellions are thwarted away, and now ByuN, I think, wants to send them back home to try to aid in the defense, as we already have the initial units from Dark poking in. Army supply looking at 30 for ByuN and 46, make that 52 for Dark, as now here come the Ravagers. And this will truly be a scary force to try to fend off. Plenty of Zerglings, a healthy serving of Zerglings as well to boot. And now here comes Dark pulling the trigger, and ByuN caught a little bit off guard outside of his front base. Does have Cyclones, gonna be down to the kiting and perhaps even to the repair. May need to pull the boys here, as Dark is desperately trying to take this game and put himself a point on the board in this series. Supply depots have been absolutely shredded there at the front, and it won't be long before more of Dark's forces come marching through. Zerglings are still in reserve, and now they will be joining the fray. Now also, here come the workers in the front. All hands on deck to try to defend here. ByuN desperately trying to maneuver backwards and kite. Clutch supply depot pull there to prevent the Zerglings from running into the main base, but we still have this huge mess in the natural base to deal with, and we have so many SCVs falling there for ByuN. More Zerglings keep piling through, and more Terran units keep falling as well. It is not looking good here for ByuN, and Dark wants to put a point on the board, wants to do so with authority. The Ravagers have been absolutely devastating there in the back line, but finally it looks like they're being cleared up at heavy cost though. 28 workers have been taken out. Absolutely no workers on Dark side, of course, as this entire battle took place in ByuN's front yard. So now as ByuN, you have to think, what can I do to try to turn the tables, regain some momentum here? Not much, as the Zerglings from Dark are coming back for wave number 2, getting more and more value, taking out Cyclones that ByuN simply can't afford to be losing at this point. Upgrades for both of these players looking a little skint, but both of them also making efforts to catch up in that regard. And now Dark stumbles upon this massive swarm of Cyclones, as they do have the speed upgrade as well. You can see how much more deadly that makes these Cyclones, how much more nimble it makes them on the map. Now Dark finally wants to shove these Cyclones off, and going behind them for the surround there. ByuN losing so much material here. Great little catch there by ByuN, trying to retreat, by Dark trying to retreat back to the safety of his siege tank. But Dark again doing a great job at shaving off the army count there for ByuN, making it so ByuN never truly feels comfortable moving out, making it so that Dark is comfortable growing in his base count, as a true Zerg would like to do. Now this is truly an overmatch here in terms of army supply. Dark at 100 supply, ByuN just barely over 30. Really gonna have to come down to the positioning and to the clutch defense here. Now we do have plenty of siege tanks here in the back. The question is it going to be enough, as ByuN is slightly out of position here, as Dark is now pulling the trigger, sending everything forward, and it is just not going to be enough here for ByuN, as Dark has more than enough to take game number 2. ByuN taps out. Dark already again starting off with some early aggression, earlier than even the last game, as we do have a pair. Make that 2 pairs of Zerglings for a grand total of 4 Zerglings. Yes, I do know how to count. They are heading right for ByuN's natural base. And what do we have in terms of defensive possibility for ByuN? Not too much. A single Marine, and now these Zerglings making their presence, and ByuN is getting a little jumpy here, wanting to not lose too much here. The Zerglings trying to go for the wraparound there on that Marine. SCVs though are helping, and they will be able to take out both the Zerglings with some control. ByuN just able to clear up on that aggression there, trading out the life of a Marine for Zerglings. Not a terrible position for ByuN, but certainly it does put him on edge a little bit. There's a button for this, ladies and gentlemen. And that button says 5 factories churning out those Cyclones there for ByuN. Already at 11, and a decent dose of Hellions as well. They're going to be great in the front. May even transform them into some Hellbats for some true vibe mech play here. And that is a scary looking Terran mech army now finally feeling confident enough to move out onto creep. And now Dark does not like this, is going to pull the trigger on a surround here. But that seems to be a lot of Terran. These siege tanks are also sieging up and just eviscerating every bit of Zerg unit in front of them. Continuing to power forward is ByuN, and Dark desperately trying to hold off this assault. The creep spread has been good enough to give him enough advance warning, but right away evacuating that third base there is Dark. As that base is now forfeit, has plenty more to fall back on. But it is certainly ByuN in the driver's seat here. Dark is just trying to gather up his forces in the center there. Focusing on the Ravagers. A couple of Banelings in the mix too, to be sure. This high ground is going to be Dark's safe spot here. ByuN now has a decision to make. Does he feel good enough with the damage he's done, or is he going to press his assault? He is going to press it. Who's catching who off guard here? It does look like it is Dark actually catching ByuN off guard as he's now pressing forward. Vipers in the mix, abducting, yoinking back those Cyclones there. Now trying to get revenge for that push earlier by ByuN. I'm not sure who's winning this fight here as back and forth these players go. The Ravager Biles have been on target there for Dark, taking out the tanks, which were causing the biggest headache there. ByuN is not staying static one bit. He's staying active on the map here with those Cyclones. I love the use of their mobility that they provide. Going to be diving in again on this outlying base. Acting kind of like Zerglings here is ByuN with the Cyclones, but putting himself in a tight spot here, back against the wall, where he will be losing every single Cyclone here. I don't think ByuN quite minds that. Free up some supply. But overall, still sticking to this bread and butter mech army. Is now moving out again on creep. Really loves this angle of attack. Really wants to deny Dark from getting this base up and running yet again. But Dark this time seems to be a bit more prepared. Is forced to cancel that hatchery yet again. And really, now with Broodlords out on the map, Dark should have enough firepower here to push back this Terran assault, as they were designed exactly for this situation. And we do also have a Baneling run by here. ByuN not able to pay attention. Big connections there. 17 workers, of course, at this stage of the game. Not huge, but cleaning up the rest of these tanks too is Dark with the Broodlords. That number is standing at 8 for Dark. Are we producing more? No, we are not. Dark very content with this number. Rotating now to the right side. Does not want to deal with the Broodlords. Going for a pseudo base trade here. He's trying to trade out one base for one base. Here is ByuN, but Dark is right there, jumping on these tanks. Some brilliant spell casting there with the Vipers, and able to clear up every bit of this Terran mechanized force. ByuN is in a very tight position here. We do have Vikings in the mix, just a handful of them though, as the Broodlords continue to lay into the Cyclones. The Vikings, trying as they might, just don't have quite the damage output. It's going to be a little bit before they're able to effectively get rid of that entire Broodlord force. Meanwhile, Dark is capitalizing on this. ByuN forced to pull the workers here to try to hold on in a desperate last stand here. Dark really trying to close out this series with authority here. It's the Viking count looking a little bit healthier, and they're going to be able to be effective against the Vipers there. But the damage output, the sheer damage from those Zerg units, are just able to basically delete that command center on that forward position at the same time. Dark again with the Zergling backstab here. Really keeping ByuN busy on all fronts. And this is a very large Zerg army. Where is ByuN's force? He is moving across the map now. He wants to go for a base raid. He does not want to try to deal with this army here, as these SCVs are left to their own devices. Dark immediately recognizes this though, and he is sending everything back home to try to defend here. Clearing up these tanks left by ByuN in the back line. Gonna give him advanced warning now of this Zerg force moving out to meet him. Cyclones versus Ravagers in the front. I think Cyclones win that fight, but good use of the bios there. Dark doing exactly what he needs to do, taking a hold of that high ground. But ByuN does not care about the Ravagers here, is pressing forward. He knows this is his one and only opportunity to try to reverse the tides here in this series. Massive number of Banelings here. Are we gonna see connections? Pretty decent ones there on those mech forces. Banelings obviously not designed for mech, but they get the job done anyway, as the upgrades are there for Dark now. ByuN utilizing the last of these roaches. The siege tanks have been very staunch, very unwilling to leave this side of the map. And both of these armies resetting, both of these players resetting their respective army counts. ByuN is not finished though. This time working on the left side, and a little pair of Cyclones on the right side to try to keep Dark occupied there. Dark with the response, but not fast enough to save that base. That base will be taken out there. And the Cyclones for ByuN really have been just chunking through these Zerg units. Again, Dark really needs to bring back some of those Broodlords, or another mix of units here, relying on the Vipers, which are being produced now. And Dark continuing to try to shadow this move out here from ByuN, but with the siege tanks in the back, it's going to be so difficult for him to really try to dislodge his position. Yes, he has the high ground on this base, but ByuN really looking like he's itching to bully his way through there. And a slight pause from the action. So it is very intense here. Dark trying to get some work done with the Zergling run-bys. And bit of an awkward situation here as ByuN wanting to take this base. Command center working as a scout there. So able to dispatch a little force to take care of it there. But the main battle really is in the middle of the map, as ByuN just has not been able to force his way through that high ground. Dark has been making excellent use the defensive choke points here in front of his bases. Really trying to hold on with everything he's got. 28 Cyclones. And again, the siege tanks always important in the back. Zergling run by, gonna give ByuN something else to think about. Great unsiege there, so he is paying attention. And it is so difficult to keep your mind on all of these things happening at once, as we have yet another Zergling run by there on the base. Dark doing an excellent job, constantly keeping ByuN unsettled. It's a Cyclone sent back home to clear everything up. Needs to get a repair on that command center. It'd be a real shame to lose that there. It looks like we will have some SCVs arriving just in time to fix that up. ByuN has not forgotten about this army though in the middle of the map. Really has a strong defensive position here. Just a couple of tanks. But very difficult for Dark to blast through it. That is, unless we have the Broodlords again making their second appearance, back by popular demand. And you can see the huge difference it makes here in dislodging this Terran force. ByuN does not have any Vikings yet, I don't think. I think they were all taken out earlier in the match. So all he has is these Cyclones to work with. And trying to dive in, as most of these bases are being mined out. Just a few for each player. Still have really minerals worth mining. ByuN is taking the top left-hand base. And Dark, meanwhile, working his way down to the bottom side, does have this 6 o'clock base very easy and open for him to take. And we can see that is, in fact, sending a worker, dispatching it there to try to take it. And running into this huge Zerg force is ByuN. Does have the larger army supply as well. So Dark really just easily bullied off of this position. Now with the Liberators in the mix too, they're going to prevent a lot of units from entering through that choke point there for Dark. They want to try to go for a surround from behind. And again, we do also have Thors in the mix, so the Broodlord's going to be in danger. They're not just going to have free reign over this army. ByuN does split off a chunk. These Cyclones going to dive into the natural base there and just work on the hatchery there for Dark. ByuN really is just pressing forward on this forward base. Dark, I don't think, just has enough to try to deal with this entire Terran army on his front door. Desperately streaming through is Dark, as ByuN is standing his ground there. Great neural parasites, though, on the Thors. They are going to turn their guns on their Terran forces here, and Dark may have just been able to clear this up, but the main base is still a huge headache for him, as these Cyclones have absolutely no contest. They've been able to clear up a lot of the tech there in the base of Dark, and he will be forced to tap out as a result. ByuN, after much back and forth, will take game number 3.